The Bin Bag of Farewells. Written by Paul T. Davies and performed by Joseph Alexander Rawlings in the style of Alan Bennett. I've been talking to myself for weeks now. I doubt anybody's been listening, but I never really expected them to. I'm used to rambling on, but I have noticed I talk to the telly too much. It was answering back to Fiona Bruce that really pushed me into action. She was talking about the shielded population, and basically why people shouldn't go out unless it's absolutely necessary. I shouted at the fragrant Fiona, "Mother shielded me for years," and the words bounced back at me. She had. For all my life, I'd lived a shielded life. Well, this was now my house, so why hadn't I made it mine? It was time to start the big project. This time I would do it. So I've started to put Mother's knickknacks online for auction, and I filled bags full of her rubbish. I'm polishing and buffing like a demon, and carrying out a lot of vigorous rubbing. It's time to make this house my house. It's all a distraction technique, of course. A feeble attempt to try and keep away from my front window. But it's not long before I'm there again. Watching Rio packing his belongings into his mother's car. When he knocked on my door to tell me Silvio was fine, he had a sprained ankle, not broken it. He also told me the landlord was kicking them out. Basically, the boys can't afford the rent anymore, and Silvio's fall down the stairs was the final straw. As he tripped over a broken step they'd begged the landlord to fix for months. Things happened quickly after that. Their mothers got involved, and there was apparently a legendary Zoom meeting in which they got the lads their deposits back and threatened to give the landlord a poor rating on findmeaccommodation.com. Well, Silvio's already gone. His mother arranging for him to stay with a relative until he can return to Italy, where he will do a voluntary work to help with the post-COVID society restructuring. Chan is staying. He doesn't owe any rent and would panic at changing his environment. And Rio's decided to not return to university and will leave for good. I've made myself busy because I can't face saying goodbye. Rio's out there now, lifting his top and giving the Celtic boys a final flash of his torso to their cheers. Classic Rio. He caught my eye and smiled, turning to go back in and get another box. I told myself I had promised to live for this time, not next time, so I did it. I opened the door and stepped outside. Just as I took a step to walk across the road, the amorous couple from the flats walked by. I stepped back to allow the 2 meters distance. They were smiling, she rubbing her baby bump, the result of all that noisy lovemaking. They stop and tell me how delighted they are. I take my courage in my hands and ask them not to call the baby Covey or Corona or something ridiculous, and they laughed. "No," she said, "it's a girl, and we're calling her, well, Hope." Well, I thought that was lovely. They said goodbye and moved on. And then I saw that Rio was leaning into the car trying to fit another box in the back, his mother telling him it wouldn't fit. I was just about to call his name when I heard the sound of lorries. Oh, the bins. I'd forgotten the bins. I rushed back into the house and grabbed the bin bags. Why are bin bags so heavy when you're in a rush? When I got back out, the lorry was right in front of my house, blocking the view of the street. "Oh, nearly missed us, Alan," said Gerald as he took the bags off me. I was rather flustered by then. The lorry eventually moved away, and outside the student house was an empty space. The car and Rio had gone. I stood there, the fumes of the bin lorry dissipating, all alone. As I turned to walk back into the house, I noticed there was something on my wall. I looked closer, and it was a packet of pink wafers. On it was a post-it note. Alan, dude. Thanks for all the tea and sunbathing. Stay safe. Love, Rio. And a kiss. He must have put it there and had run for the bins. What a lovely gesture. It was typical Rio. Then I heard a car slow down behind me, and I turned, and there was Rio and his mum smiling at me. Of course, she'd reversed down into the cul-de-sac to let the bin lorry get past. Thank you for looking after him, shouted his mum from the driver's seat. Rio had his tattooed arm leaning out of the window. Thank you for keeping me sane, dude. He smiled. I held up the pink wafers. Well, thank you for this. You're very kind. We must have them when you come back. Nah, said Rio. I came here for university and I've quit, so I won't be coming back. Thanks anyway, Alan. You're a legend. I waved and said, please email me. But he didn't hear me, as his mother roared off and tooted the horn as he waved his arm. His beautiful tattooed arm. Farewell to the street. I stood there, looking at the packet of wafers. Well, that's it then. He's gone. Out of the corner of my slightly watering eye, I saw a flash of pastel. I brought some flapjacks, said Dame Helen. I thought we could have some with a nice cup of tea. I've got some lovely chamomile and honey tea, shouted Joyce opposite. It's very soothing. Oh, none of that herbal muck, shouted Bernard. Let's have a proper British bricky brew. Mr. Blythe began strumming one of Dolly Parton's greatest hits on his guitar. I think it were I Will Always Love You. I could see Thora, never one to miss a chinwag, making her way down the road. We could all have a socially distanced tea break, said Dame Helen, and the others approved and went into their houses to get chairs and what-nots. Helen pointed at the pink wafers. We could have them along with my flapjacks, she said. I stroked the post-it. No, I said. I'm going to keep these for a special occasion. I smiled at Dame Helen. Did you know Hope is being born in the autumn? I'll just pop the kettle on and I'll tell you all about it. That was The Bin Bag of Farewells, written by Paul T. Davis and performed by Joseph Alexander Rawlings, in the style of Alan Bennett. Isolation Alan was written as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, from an original idea by Paul T. Davis and Ben Wills.